Well, good Monday afternoon to you. Chris Harry here, the world champion crypto cowboy, bringing you another update on ICP. It's been a couple of days, had Laserfish in town, so we were doing a couple other things. Been pretty busy, but we're back on Monday to get figured out what's going on. Things are kind of moving up. How far and for how long is the big question. We're going to break all of it down today. All starting at the daily chart all the way out to that weekly chart. I'm going to give you short and long range targets, but I am a world champion rodeo cowboy in the team roping events. And I'm taking those strategies and discipline that I've learned right outside in my arena, bringing them right here to the crypto desk, and I'm going to make all of y'all world champion crypto traders. So stick around with me. Hit the like, subscribe. Make sure you're getting all my videos. And we'll make you guys traders before you know it. But we're going to start off with the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, currently sitting at 20. I think we were about 16 yesterday. Not surprised with the pump that we've had over the weekend and into today. But how much further is it going to go? That's the big question. But this measures market sentiment. It tells us if people are scared, if they're greedy, what in the world's going on. And right now, people are still scared to death. Got a ways to go before we get out of fear or extreme fear into neutral, but we're kind of working up into fear. So I think that's pretty good. But what I like to do with this chart is when we drop down into fear and extreme fear, I like to make small spot purchases. When we drop into extreme fear, I buy a little more. And you can see on my BitUnex chart, we've been DCAing into these just small amounts. There's about $90 in Solana and Ethereum. We're only down about 6 and 8% now. We were down 12 or 14%. Bitcoin's only down 1% now, so it's kind of working out. We're kind of moving that way. If you need an exchange to trade on, BitUnex is a great one. You'll find a link to that in my description. I believe you get a cashback deposit with your first deposit, and you get a little better fees on your trading, so don't forget to check that out. Moving out to the altcoin season index, currently at 37. We are not in altcoin season yet, folks, and we've got a little ways to go. We need to get up around 75, get above 50, and I get a little more bullish, but you can kind of see we've just been waffling around, not really making any big moves. And when we're in Bitcoin season, when Bitcoin goes up, altcoins trickle up. When Bitcoin dumps, altcoins absolutely bleed out. So that's kind of where we are. Going on the liquidation heat map, I've done two. I'm going to do a micro and a macro so we can get a better idea of what's going on. This is what market makers use to track your liquidity. Everything you see on here is a liquidation point. Everything above price action is a short trade. Everything below price action is a long trade. And you can see on the 3-day, we've probably got more longs than shorts. About 1.61 million in longs and about 1.29 million in shorts. You can see we've got an awful bright pocket of liquidity that's just above price action right here at about 425. So that may be what they're trying to take out. And then there's a few more, and then there's a little bit more liquidation down here about 393. So we're kind of in the middle. It looks like it's going to chop around. Getting out on the macro, you can see where all the liquidations are. Cumulatively, we've got $12.4 million worth of short trades. To the long side, we've got 6.21. So the imbalance is still up. There's some pockets around here. There is that pocket right here around 342. Maybe they come back to get that. Maybe they don't. Things kind of look like they're finding a floor. But we'll go on over to the charts here in just a second. We'll figure that out and figure out exactly where we're going. Let me get it pulled up here. There we go. I do put all these charts in the crypto school. You'll find a link to that in my description. Went ahead and took a long this morning on Bitcoin. I posted that signal. It's been printing. We're doing pretty well. But in the 1 hour chart on ICP, you can see we've made our retracement and fallen all the way down from about $6. And we bottomed out right here at around 385. What I like about this is there's a fair value gap below the 50 simple moving average. That's the yellow line. That takes 50 of these candles, puts a fluid line on the chart, works as excellent support and resistance. We're currently rejecting the 50 smooth moving average. That sits at 428. What I think they're probably going to do, they're kind of going to come back down, retest this 50 simple and moving average, and then we might get a run on up. Big area to get over these 50 moving averages. The next stop is going to be our 200 smooth moving average. Sits at about 491. We're going to need to get over that. The 382 is at 467. You've got a bearish fair value gap sitting at 475. If we can put in a fair value gap somewhere between this 50 and that 382, I think we can get above it. Next thing would be to get a close above this 200 moving average. And then I think you can think about 518 to 555. consolidate and move up out of that 660 to 730. What I do want you to keep in mind is that we can reject on any one of these points and then we will go lower. Those lower targets sit a pretty good ways down. That we'll get into it in the 4 hour. We'll figure out exactly where that is. The 1 hour is kind of cooked on downside. That's why I think we've got a little more upside. But there's this right here hanging above us. We lost the 4 hour golden zone on the 4 hour chart. We're coming up to retest it. If we can come in and reclaim it, I think we've got to look at these 4 hour 50s about 480 to think about further upside. That's a big ask in the market that we're in and with the sentiment the way it is. But we'll see what happens. If you can get above that, I think you head up to 712 to 830. I do start worrying about a lower high here because we've had such a big pullback. That would bring us down. We still can't rule out these wicks that are out here, and that's going to put you down at around 83 cents. Market makers do like to fill out about 80% of these. So that's where I'm at for tonight. You do have a cluster of fair value gaps around 328, so we could just come down, retest this, and work up. If you can get above all the mess, 1172 to 1415 would be your targets. Moving out to the daily, we can get a really good idea of what's going on. We did put in this big fair value gap right here where we consolidated after the big dump on October 10th. I like that. It's bullish. That may be our bounce point somewhere around 320. We're currently in the daily retracement zone. We found support in it. We're working at recovering the 50 moving averages right now that are at 437 and 469 respectively. If we can get above those, the 200 moving average is your next stop at around 602. Then we can think about these extensions here, 676 to 811. These bearish fair value gaps on the daily are extremely strong. That's why I keep saying I think we set in a lower high, then we go lower to fill out this wick. If we can get above it, $12 to 1477 would be your next targets, but I really think we come back down somewhere around 318. And then we go to fill out some of this wick, maybe around $2. Weekly chart shows a pretty bullish picture. We had that big run that took us all the way up to about 975, and then we've been coming down ever since. We did find support down here. You can see the green candle. But what we really need to do is get out of the 618 at about 482, come up, test these weekly 50 moving averages at about 581. And 681. If we can get there, I think we look to $6 to $8 for our next stops, then on up to 12, 11 to 1491. But like I said, if we lose these, this fair value gap is going to be a strong area of support around 344. And then we're looking about 80% of that wick that's around $2. So that gives you a pretty good idea of what's going on with ICP. What a mess it's been. I get tired of talking about downside, but here we are again talking about downside. I think there's a room for a little bit of upside here. Just how far and how much is yet to be determined. We're going to have to take this day by day. I'm going to continue to do updates daily when I can. But that gives you a pretty good idea of where we go in the short term and the near term. So don't forget to like, subscribe, tap the bell notification on the video. You'll get updates as soon as we upload a video. And don't forget to leave us a comment. It helps the YouTube algorithm, and I really enjoy hearing from you people. But I'm going to wrap this one up for tonight. Don't forget to check out the links in my description. You'll find all those below. My name's Chris Hare, the World Champion Crypto Cowboy. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you down the road.